Hello and welcome to another edition of the Green 19 podcast. I'm Dominique Yates. I'm joined by Ryan Wood and Tom Silverstein. It's almost time to play some football. Preseason is here coming up Saturday. The Packers welcome in the New York Jets. Game is set for 7 o'clock that evening. And there's a lot there. Let's jump right into it. Should the starters play or not?
I think you should play some of your offensive linemen. I think it probably wouldn't hurt to have some of these guys play together because you've got some new positions. But, on the other hand, I don't know that I'd mess with Elgton Jenkins. Elgton Jenkins, you can roll him out of bed and he can play in the regular season. But you might want Aaron Banks and Jordan Morgan to play next to each other. Zach Tom, I don't know if I'd play him. In general, no, I wouldn't play it. I'd play a few guys, some of the younger guys I would play who maybe need it. But I've just come to the conclusion that preseason's a waste of time.
Do you need some snaps for Elgton Jenkins? Like, do you want to see him actually have, like his first snap not be – it's not his first snap. He snapped week 9, and it didn't go well against Detroit in a rain-soaked field. But do you need his first snap with Jordan Love full-time not to be week 1?
Yeah, I mean, what's the difference between snapping in a practice and snapping in a game?
They hit harder.
What's that?
they hit harder.
Yeah. I don't think so. Elgton Jenkins is a 20-year veteran. I think he'll be fine. Maybe Jordan Love wants to play just to, because of the injury, play healthy. And just see what it's like to play healthy. But I've never thought that it was worth risking guys much. In the past I used to think it was, you should play them a little bit. And they did, with 4 games. The third game was when they played teams a half, the first team. And I think Andy Reid still does that, likes to play his guys. So it really, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a fascinating debate, and that's why I just wanted to jump right into it. And honestly, for me, I think part of what maybe has changed in terms of playing during the preseason, I think those joint practices, I think that's really kind of changed the game. It's like, well, let our starters go against, you could say, the first-team defense for the opposing team and vice versa. So for preseason, you don't have to worry about playing. So that's always kind of what I felt, and you kind of brought up before we got started what Jordan Love was saying as far as his feelings on preseason. What were your takeaways on that?
Well, the joint practices to me are significantly more valuable and more important than any preseason snap. In fact, next week when they go down to the Indianapolis Colts, my family is from Indiana. I'm taking the boys, and they want to go to the preseason game, get that game experience, that game atmosphere. And I'm like, hey, if you really want the football, go to the joint practice. Like, that's where it's at, because preseason's nothing but vanilla. There is no scheme wrinkles. There's just win your matchup. That is the preseason. The joint practice is not televised. They actually will throw the playbook at each other and go figure it out. So, that's way more important. If it were me, I'm not going to say no starters, but if it were me, I would play almost no starters for the entire preseason. None. All 3 weeks. There are very, very few exceptions to that. Maybe Javon Bullard, who is really playing, he's full-time nickel now. Maybe get him out there, at that spot and get his feet wet a little bit there. On the defensive side, starters, that's it. I mean, who else do you need to see defensively?
Lucas Van Ness should play.
Lucas Van, okay, he is a starter. Yeah, that's fair.
Williams should play.
Especially because with Lucas Van Ness, when I say win your matchup, like that's important for you. You want to see Lucas Van Ness win some matchups. He's done it in camp, but you'd want to see it in live snaps. So I'd throw Lucas Van Ness in there too.
Carrington Valentine, I'd want him to play.
Now, he's not a starter though.
Well, he is until Nate Hobbs comes back,
right,
and whenever that is. So technically, he's a starter. Some of the wide receivers, well, Wicks isn't going to be ready to play, but he needs to play in the preseason.
Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden.
He's going to get out there.
Golden and Savion,
Game
both.
speed.
Yeah, both of those guys.
Yeah. So yeah, there are some, but I want to remind you that Aaron Rodgers used to hate the joint practices because he thought they were more vanilla than the preseason games. He couldn't stand. You remember that he went off on joint practices because they were so boring, and he felt like he got nothing out of them. And so
that strikes me as an Aaron Rodgers thing, because I've heard from plenty of other players that have said, like, no, there's actual, like, scheme involved in that, and it's, the preseason games are it's nothing out there in terms of playbook.
That is interesting.
I don't know.
That is interesting.
I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't like anything from the months of, February to September. So, I mean, he was okay with camp, I guess. But now, as far as Jordan Love goes, I asked Jordan Love today if he felt like he needed preseason snaps. And maybe it's because I had so many years of hearing from Aaron Rodgers and I've been trained that no, you don't. I was surprised he said, yeah. I mean, he wants preseason snaps. So he wants to play. The process is it's ultimately up to Matt LaFleur. Traditionally, the past couple of years, they've thrown him out there for a series, the starters, and let him have the series, go get your easy touchdown because it's preseason and feel good about yourself and then call it a day. Sure sounds like that might be a possibility. But again, if it was up to me, I mean, of your 22 starters, both sides of the ball, I'm not playing at least 18 of them. Like, I wouldn't play them.
Yeah. I guess that's the $1 million question. Like, what do you get out of it? Like, last season, thrown out there for a series, threw a bomb to Wicks. Did you see a whole lot of that even during the season? It's like, are these things that you...
And the guy pulled a hamstring, or I can't remember what happened on that first play. He hurt his back, so they got a 63-yard touchdown on the third play of the game. Yeah. And that was it.
Yeah,
and that was it for Love. Then they took him out after that.
Well, here's the thing.
Exactly.
Here's the question I was kicking around in the locker room today, and I asked Matt LaFleur as well. What, especially with Jordan Love, okay, what can you even learn about this guy in the preseason training camp portion that is actually valuable in terms, because it's very different than 2 years ago. That first joint practice down in Cincinnati, we all had our notebooks out. We were taking stats on every single rep because we had no idea what this guy was. Now we have a pretty decent idea of who he is right now. We know where he needs to get to, but where he needs to get to, so much of that is just situational football. I mean, it's the winning moments that come in the fall, and we can't really you can't replicate that in August. Like, that's the last time we saw this guy play. We saw him playing in January in Philadelphia against a Super Bowl winning defense, trying to make something happen. Like, that's not replicable now. It's not replicable until the fall.
He's playing against his own number one defense constantly, and those guys know his plays and his routes, and so it's a challenge. I think he's. I've seen, to me, if I were Matt LaFleur and I wanted to know if Jordan Love was back from where he was, I think I've seen enough to say, I think he's back. He's made enough really good throws that, and doesn't make a ton of bad decisions. I haven't seen him just have like a horrible, maybe one or two bad decisions all camp.
Like the Xavier McKinney pick in the end zone, like day one without pads. Like, it was tight window.
That was like
That's
more
the only
just,
one that stands out.
That was more just like underthrown than just didn't get it to the guy too.
Well, he was bracket coverage, so he didn't really have a window to throw it there.
Yeah, he's forced a couple, but like you said, he's going to be more aggressive during preseason. So I don't know. You can make an argument either way.
Yeah.
Jordan Love gave me a pretty decent answer to that question when I asked him. That kind of swayed my, because I've been pretty extreme. Like, you're not learning anything about the guy right now. He's got to do it in the fourth quarter when the game's on the line. Like, that's the question with him.
Yeah.
You can't do that in training camp reps. He gave me a decent answer, kind of swayed my opinion a little bit, which is, he came into camp focusing on pocket presence, being calm in the pocket with his feet, believing that will translate to better accuracy. And you can't, he's also got a red jersey on the practice field. It's not the same as the fall when he knows he can get hit any play because he knows he's not getting hit on any rep right now. Preseason, a little different. I mean, you can get hit in the preseason, so maybe there's a reason for him to want to take some preseason snaps there. But if you're working on that specifically, I can see some legitimate claim to, a small smattering of preseason reps might do you good. But outside, I think he can learn that just as well early part of the season, first quarter of the season, first 4 games as he can against the Jets.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know if I'm pessimistic or what, but I don't really buy some of the cliches. It's hard to beat a team 3 times or game rust. I don't know if those are, as big as sometimes people make them out to be. Could be wrong, but I don't know if a couple snaps in preseason is going to be the key. If they beat the Detroit Lions in the home opener, it's like, because they had those 3 snaps in preseason. So I don't know. We'll see. But
the interesting thing is, Matt LaFleur has historically had some real duds in the opener. He's had a couple solid victories as well. We haven't asked him this, but I am curious what he may have learned from the good and the bad that he's gone through the first 6 seasons that he might tailor now. Because, it's gone every which way for him in those openers.
Yeah. And let's move along. There's a couple other things that popped up in the locker room this week. We can start with Nate Hobbs. It was, at least for me personally, I was surprised to see him just walk in the locker room, do interviews, stand up, and just kind of talking per normal. And he talked about, so it was a partial tear in his meniscus. It happened, Thursday in practice, and had looked into it Friday, had surgery this past weekend over family night. And he said he's already kind of been going through the process of rehab. And I don't know if you did have the chance to talk to Nate over there, and what were some of the takeaways that, he kind of told the media this past week?
Well, it's funny because, I had a source tell me rather definitively that Nate Hobbs will play week 1, which we'll see. That's kind of what Nate Hobbs said was, we'll see. He's not putting a timeline on that so definitively, but the expectation is that the recovery timetable is about 4 weeks. He feels like he'll be back in 4 weeks, barring any setback. I think the bigger issue with Nate Hobbs is just, he's missed 16 games over the last 3 seasons. He missed 6 last year, 4 with an ankle injury. He had a really strong start to camp. He wasn't giving up much. I think for all that we've talked about with, hitting Dontavian Wicks without pads, the kind of low blow on Marshawn Lloyd, I think the Packers, you don't want that on your own team, but they kind of had a certain I like that physicality, that edge that you're giving to our secondary. That's why they brought him here. He was doing those things, making a strong first impression. The last thing he needed was a surgery. Even if it was described to me as a minor surgery, which I always, when I hear that, I think there is no such thing as a minor surgery. Surgery is surgery, right? There's different kinds of injuries, but surgery is still surgery. The last thing he needed is another injury, another surgery right now. But Nate Hobbs wanted to get done right away, in part because he does feel like he can get back for week 1. That's a very realistic chance with it being 5 weeks after surgery. So we'll see, but it's just he's had a lot of injury issues in the past, and having
why the Raiders didn't stick with him.
Yeah,
they had new management too.
Yeah.
But the bottom line was they just thought they would, they wanted someone who could be there all the time. And he's a physical player, he's going to get hurt. He's going to probably get hurt more than the average cornerback. He's going to try to hurt people, and he's going to hurt himself too. Yeah. So it's not that surprising. Yeah. The question, he needs to be at least ready in week 2. They can get away with a week. The way Carrington Valentine's been playing, they got Keyshawn Nixon, they got Bullard in the slot. It's not the end of the world. Yeah. But against your rival, one of the most physical teams in football, you'd like to have arguably your most physical guy on the field when that happens.
So with sticking with the secondary there, as far as the corners, I guess, would you agree that you could say right now on paper it's good with Nixon and Carrington on the outside, and then after that depth can be an interesting question because, you brought in Valentine, you have guys like Kalen King, and he's kind of been, rotating at nickel as well. You got a lot of young guys that haven't played football, so it's like right now they're okay, but
you have to sort some things out.
Yeah.
Who's going to be the slot if Bullard something happened to Bullard, but they have a starting 5 in the secondary with McKinney, with Evan Williams, with Bullard, with Keyshawn Nixon, with Valentine. They can get through one game with that. They have to figure out who those other corners are going to be. I think Kalen King has had a pretty good camp and has a chance to be the backup slot corner. After that, I don't know. Valentine got brought in this week, and they know what he can do. He's a good special teams player. Started 6 games in 2023, and was solid. So
Bo Melton.
Yeah, Bo Melton. Bo Melton actually has been. You're right. I forgot about
Very
Bo Melton.
active.
He's actually been solid too.
That's a good thing you forgot about him because he's not blowing coverages every which way.
You don't see him like totally whiffing on stuff, and he's competitive around the ball. He's going to make the team.
Yeah,
no question. How much he's going to play at corner, that remains to be seen.
Well, that's
we were talking about that in practice.
That's the thing with Bo Melton. I mean, I knew he was making the team as soon as Rich Bisaccia says he can be an elite special teams player. Mm-hmm. And then right after Rich Bisaccia, Jeff Hafley comes in, and he says when Matt LaFleur gave the idea, Bo Melton moving to corner, he was excited for 2 reasons. The reactionary skills, and he thinks he has really quick feet in the back pedal. So he thinks he can play the position. But he was also like, okay, let's take a step back here. Let's ensure that we all know this is not a position you're going to just learn overnight. He's not going to just grasp it. There's going to be practices where he's spun around, which, I mean, have we seen any practices where he's just been spun around? I don't recall seeing him lost on any particular day so far. But Jeff Hafley's saying it's bound to happen. This is going to be a process. So, okay, the Packers believe 2 things. They believe that this is a transition that Bo Melton will not get overnight. And to make that move, they have to, be committed to seeing that process play out. And they believe that he has the potential to be an elite special teams player. So because he can contribute right now on special teams at a high level, at a core guy level, that allows them the flexibility to be patient with this move, which is going about as well as I think it could have gone to this point.
Yeah, I think it's big. Another thing, a point with the secondary, and you brought up Bullard. It was interesting to hear Matt LaFleur talk about Bullard and said he felt he's had an outstanding camp. And I think that's one thing that's kind of tough for us when we're on the sideline. You can't see everything. And he even brought up himself because, you get on social media, you see the Romeo Dobbs long ball. It's like, oh, he beat Bullard there, or some other different plays. A lot of those explosive plays that happens, it seemed like he's gotten beat. But he said the one-on-ones don't tell the whole story. Have you been able to, see some of Bullard, even you as well, Ryan? Have you been able to kind of observe what he's in terms of picking up, nickel, or maybe even when he's done some safety?
Yeah, I think he's a really good early down nickel, and I think that's how we'll see him. And then it's going to be up to him to prove that he should be on the field every down. So whether that's at safety, whether that's at corner, slot corner, the guy was a 2nd-round pick. He played high level football, was really well received. There he's very productive. He just has to show that he's got to be on the field all the time, and I think Hafley's got some ideas of how to use him because he can put him near the line of scrimmage. He can blitz him from the slot. He knows he's good against the run because he can tackle. So there's certain aspects there. He looks trimmed down. He looks like he prepared for corner. And that, I think that's going to help him. I don't think he's going to lose the technique for tackling. I think he that's what he does. He's a good tackler, good physical player. So the next thing is defending guys man to man if he has to in the slot.
The only time I feel like I've really seen Javon Bullard get in trouble is when he's trying to cover the back end. With the only exception to that, last year last October, he had a couple shaky nickel reps against Jacksonville. Other than that, he's been really solid at nickel, and he's got a little Darnell Savage to him when it comes to tracking deep on the back end. And so the remedy to that is what I think we all saw coming all offseason, which is, okay, just put him at nickel. You got Evan Williams, Xavier McKinney on the back end, you're fine. And so it's not like he can't play safety in a pinch, but they don't really need him to so long as they have health in the secondary, and I think that's what you're going to see. I don't think it's a coincidence that Matt LaFleur, when asked about Javon Bullard, said the first thing he said he's having an outstanding camp, and the first reason why is because he likes the way he's playing in the box. I think he's a very solid, strong box defender. Get him close to the line of scrimmage, and as to your point, Spoon, Jeff Hafley is the type of schematic creativity guy that can do things with that.
That's true. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Can I ask a radical question about this whole Nate Hobbs thing? All right. Nate Hobbs was paid to be a starter. Packers believe he'll be a starter. If he's healthy, sure. But he's not healthy right now. Carrington Valentine has not only had a strong camp, he ended last season forcing takeaways on 4 straight plays, or 4 straight games. Yeah. Like he was by the end of the season, December, he was a turnover machine. Is this an opportunity for Carrington Valentine finally, who is, all last year, it was the reason why it was 4 straight games in December is he was trying to beat out Eric Stokes all last year, and they finally relented and gave him the job. Is this an opportunity now for Carrington Valentine to show that he can be something of a regular member, if not a starter, in the secondary?
I mean, there were times it was brought up, like he on the outside, especially because Hobbs has played nickel. I mean, that was something that brought up. It'd be fair. I mean, it's going to be hard to keep Carrington Valentine off the field.
He's got 4 picks already.
He has 4 picks. He's been very active. It seems like the game has slowed down, and I mean that's kind of Jeff Hafley's specialty, working with corners. So it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it did happen. But not only, like Spoon even made the point, like because of how Carrington's playing, if Nate Hobbs is not ready week 1, at least right now, it appears like you could afford to live without him because, Valentine isn't getting beaten much, that often. And even the one-on-ones with him and Romeo Dobbs, like those guys have been going to war in some of those drills. And, I mean, that's been one of the few entertaining things that we've seen.
The thing that's going to keep him from being a starter over Hobbs is tackling.
Yeah.
Which his tackling was really porous last year.
Yeah, Eagles game.
He definitely bulked up. You could see it to try to get rid of, or to try to make himself a better tackler. He does look like his body's matured and built out a little bit. But Hobbs brings it. And so I think it'll be hard for Valentine, but I think he can take snaps away from Bullard by needing to be on the field for the nickel, especially on non-running downs, and then all of a sudden maybe Bullard has to go out and Keyshawn Nixon moves to the slot or Hobbs moves to the slot, so that they have some they need to keep Hobbs on the field. I think he's a good enough player that they need his physical play. That's the kind of thing they want, the tone they want to set. And so Valentine's going to have to force them to play him in some other way.
However it happens, Nate Hobbs being shut down the rest of camp is a big opportunity for Carrington Valentine. Sure. That is a lot of first-team reps that he is now going to inherit there. And for a guy who, again, all last year was trying to just beat out Eric Stokes, was the better corner, clearly the better corner, then gets the opportunity, shows he's the better corner, to have an opportunity now. I mean, this I think is a big moment for him.
Yeah. No question. Another guy that talked in the locker room this week is Quay Walker. Haven't really had the chance to talk with him, and now he said he's healthy coming off the ankle injury and just that whole process, and also the question about not getting that that 5th year in the contract, even though Brian Gutekunst, the Packers, said they want him here for the foreseeable future. What were your takeaways from what Quay Walker said in the locker room?
Yeah, the biggest question I have about him is, it's not even much of a question. He's going to be the Mike. I mean, it's pretty clear he's going to be the Mike, and I still don't know that best services Quay Walker's abilities. I don't know. why Edgerrin Cooper can't be the Mike at this point, or at least see what you have there. Because I think that Quay Walker, you get him in space, that's much better for him than being in the box, taking on. His take on is the one part of his game. You watched the film last year. That's the weak link, and that's what you do as a Mike. I mean, you've got downhill guards all the time. So I get that mentally he's the quarterback of the defense. They trust him there. He's wearing the communication helmet. That's good. But that's a big part of that job description that's not his forte. It's not his strong suit. With that said, he's going to be the Mike. The one thing he did not want to get into the contract situation at all. Brian Gutekunst has said that he wants Quay Walker here long term. The Packers like him. How much do they like him? We'll see when ultimately it's the offer that shows you that. But the fifth-year option wasn't going to be tenable, so they weren't going to pick that up. As far as the ankle goes, I mean, this week he returned to team reps. He said he has zero doubt that he'll be 100% full go for week one. He had the ankle surgery this spring because it was lingering from returning last year from the ankle injury. He actually said, he missed 3 games late last season, returned for the wild card game in Philly, and then rolled it again in Philly. He played 95% of the snaps, 57 snaps, I believe, against the Eagles. But one of those 57 snaps, he rolled his ankle again. So he thought that it would heal once the season ended. He gets back for OTAs. It doesn't heal. It's still bothering him. He decides to get it taken care of then so that he'll be ready for week one. But, yeah, it's a big year for him because that contract situation it leaves it open, and he's scheduled to become a free agent this spring, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Not only Quay, just what have you seen from that linebacker room? Do you have anything to add? Yeah.
The thing with Quay Walker is I wouldn't sign him to a long-term deal until I see what he can give me this year. The centerpiece, the guy that you want long-term is Edgerrin Cooper. I mean, he's the star in that defense. And wherever he needs to play, that's where he should play. And Quay Walker is immensely talented, physically, but I don't know if he's going to be a great player. I don't know. And I wouldn't pay to find out this year. If he's going to be really good and you got to have him, then you can slap the franchise tag on him or something like that. But I think Edgerrin Cooper is the guy that you develop and to be the leader of that defense. And then, you have some other guys you hope that Isaiah Simmons turns into something. Maybe does, maybe doesn't. Teron Hopper, I wouldn't totally rule him out as a guy who could play in the middle at some point. McDuffie can play there. But I just don't think I would pay him right now. I think I want to see more production. I want to see him stay healthy.
Would you think about moving Cooper to Mike?
No, because I think Cooper's whole thing is attack, and he's so good at shooting gaps, and you want him to be free to really roam. I agree with you that Walker would be better as a weak side linebacker, I think. But Cooper, you put him in wherever he's going to be most productive, and you want him flying all over through these gaps. Where I think Walker needs to really make his hay is as a blitzer. I think that's where he and Cooper can be really dynamic if they can, work off each other and blitz up the middle, and Walker has to get to the quarterback. So that'll be a big thing for him this year.
The reason I ask is because I wonder if Edgerrin Cooper, as he develops, will be the type of talent who, no matter where you put him, he's going to make plays, right? He's just going to be good anywhere. And if that's the case, is it addition? Are you, you got one guy is good no matter what. You got one guy is clearly better at one spot than the other. Is that, in totality, making you a better defense to do that than it is to, Edgerrin Cooper might just be a touch better in space, even though he can play Mike, and Quay Walker can't play Mike and is playing Mike. That's why I wonder.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But even for me with Cooper, I just want to see what he looks like the full season. Because last year, he didn't kind of came in late and had his moments, but this is from week one until whenever the season goes, you'll get to see much more of him. And
he played 57% of the snaps last year. Like, that's it. That's all he played. That's a lot of snaps, and he did that in 57%.
That's true.
Yeah, he has to stay healthy too.
Yeah.
That's been an issue for him.
It's like I feel like so many of these guys we talk about, like if he stays healthy, like fill in the blank, Evan Williams, Javon Bullard,
That's
so
football.
many of these guys, and that is the ball. Yeah,
You're also talking about young guys, and those are the guys who get hurt.
yeah.
The Xavier McKinney's, their bodies have matured. They know how to stay on the field. There's other guys that they know how to play through injuries, things like that. So it's not uncommon for rookie guys like that to get hurt.
That is a great point because I talked to Evan Williams last week. He said, I didn't realize how little I knew about my body until getting here and just the way you're supposed to treat it and take care of it and all types of just therapy that goes into it. So that is definitely an interesting point.
I didn't know how little I knew about my body until these camp practices started, man. Every day I'm coming in. You got the walking cane. You're smart. Every day I'm coming in, like the lower center of my back is just radiating, like it's the sun, just radiating pain. I'm like, man, I thought I was in shape.
That is true.
This is tough.
Yeah, I turned my tripod for the camera into a cane. So it's just me and Johnny Gray.
We're like Gandalf.
It's Johnny Gray and us with our canes walking around.
That green stuff is just awful to stand on.
It is. It's a
terrible.
good 10 degrees hotter as well. So it is very fascinating. I do have one point about the offensive line that I didn't get to hit on. And we kind of talked about this watching practice, especially because the coaches talked a lot about Jordan Morgan. They wanted to see a lot of him at left tackle. And since Rasheed Walker has been out for a little bit with his injury, you saw more of it. That's a battle we talked about. It's still early and there's still preseason, but right now, do you think that, like you say, there is that competition, or is it still Rasheed's job and you can answer it next?
Oh, I think it's totally up in the air. And Jordan Morgan has benefited tremendously from Rasheed Walker being out. And he's at one position. That's all they're playing him at right now, left tackle. That's a good thing for him because he can focus on that. He doesn't have to worry about right guard right now, and he can compete for one spot. I've watched him, and I try to keep an eye on him, and there's times he looks really good, and there's times where, he looks like a second-year guy who didn't play all that much. I think his determination for where he is and how much he plays and where he's going to be will be the preseason. He's going to play a ton. Mm-hmm. And I suspect he's going to be the blindside protector for Malik Willis whenever he's on the field. And that'll be a real good test for him. Can he keep him clean? And that's what we'll see. I think they know what Rasheed Walker can do. I think he still needs to clean up some of his inconsistencies, but they know a lot about him. Now they just need to see, can Morgan, is Morgan an ascending guy? Because he's a great athlete. I mean, there's no question he's an athlete. He moves. But is he a player? That's the question.
He had a one-on-one rep. Might have been it was the second day of one-on-ones against Lucas Van Ness, where Lucas Van Ness went high outside with speed and then cut in. And Jordan Morgan's feet, he mirrored the entire time. I mean, it was a really impressive rep. For the most part, when I've seen Jordan Morgan, he looks like a guy who hasn't played left tackle in a while, which isn't really that surprising because he hasn't played left tackle in a while. But I don't think we know what Jordan Morgan's going to be at left tackle yet, because it's not surprising that he's had some real whiff reps. I mean, he's just whiffed. And that's what happens when you're adjusting to that position again after being away for so long. He'll either get better there or he won't. In Jordan Morgan and Rasheed Walker, you have two totally different players in terms of their stage of development. Rasheed Walker's ceiling might not be sky high, but his floor is pretty high. Like, the range of play you're going to get with him, and it's fine play. Like, he's not a Pro Bowl talent, but he can start, and he's a starting caliber player at left tackle. Jordan Morgan, with that athleticism, he has a much higher ceiling than Rasheed Walker. Mm-hmm. He also has a lower floor. Like, where he fluctuates right now is so much wildly all over the place compared to Rasheed Walker, who's who he is, right? I mean, he's going to, what you're going to get there. So I think that's where the opportunity comes for not just Jordan Morgan, but the Packers, is to find out what they actually have there in Jordan Morgan at left tackle. And that's an answer that we don't have yet. That's going to come in the next few weeks and maybe then some.
And that might wind up being the rotation on the line that we see right now. I don't know that I see a rotation anywhere else. I think Sean Ryan's done pretty well at right guard. I think Anthony Belton's been a little bit over his head.
Yeah.
I thought he would be more dominant just to start, but I think he's got a lot to learn about the NFL. So, of course he'll make the team, but right now it could just be that Walker and Morgan rotate until they decide which one is better.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, especially throughout preseason, just to see more reps, more live action, because it's like you don't fully know in camp. It's like you can dissect. It's like, okay, was Jordan Morgan going full speed there, or was he going half speed? But Lucas Van Ness was going full speed with his hands. It's just like, who knows fully until you get to see some of the game action, and that's just the big thing I want to see with so many of these guys.
Well, the best example of that is the, in air quotes, sack that Lucas Van Ness had against Jordan Morgan on Jordan Love during family night. Like, that was, we all count that as a sack, right? But Jordan Love has the red jersey. Who's to say that it's not a sack? It's just a bad rep that Jordan Love makes a play on if it was live. We don't really know. So, and if it's just a bad rep, if it's a bad snap, those happen, right? Sacks, those are more distinguished. Like, that's more definitive. If Lucas Van Ness had a chance to finish that, brings Jordan Love to the ground, you're saying, Jordan Morgan gave up a sack there, and it was definitive. We don't really know because he's got the red jersey. So, bad snaps you can live with. Sacks, not so much.
Yeah. Any final words, final thoughts from you guys as we wrap up this show?
I don't know. I guess we're getting almost halfway. Middle of next week is halfway when they play the Colts.
Yeah, it goes fast.
Practicing the Colts. Yeah. And I don't know. I think I haven't seen anything that's shocked me. Nothing has surprised me. I think it's been pretty status quo. I think they've dodged, the injury bug. I think they've been very lucky from that standpoint. And the one thing you can tell is they got talent and they got depth. Yeah. How much is it Philadelphia talent? Is it Detroit talent? Or is it still a step below? That's what we'll find out once the game starts.
I think the totality there, the big picture view, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think they're pretty good, but I don't really know, and I'm really curious to find out once the games start. We should mention, I spoke with Emmanuel Wilson.
Yeah.
And Matt LaFleur, I thought, after family night, put it pretty clearly, which was, that was a scary injury. Because if you're watching, it sure looked like Emmanuel Wilson said it was just an overthrown ball from Jordan Love. He's trying to adjust to it. Isaiah McDuffie was trailing him in coverage, and he's got to turn to the outside shoulder in the end zone, and he goes down, and now teammates are on a knee around him. It's like, oh, my goodness. And why this is significant, I mean, Josh Jacobs might have authored a top 5 season for a Packers running back ever last year, but the Packers are one of 3 teams in the NFL with a 1,000-yard rusher and a backup who had 500. They have rare depth there in Emmanuel Wilson. Like, that doesn't happen. And he was a significant contributor to the number 5 rushing offense in the NFL. So Emmanuel Wilson said that when he went down, he thought he tore his ACL. Like, that was his thought lying there on the ground. And then 30 seconds passed, and the pain in his knee started to subside. He's like, okay, this feels better. By the time he'd walked off inside the Don Hudson Center, he didn't think it was an ACL, and obviously it was confirmed. It's just a bone contusion. Like, he got a bruise. It's a bad bruise. Doesn't look like he's going to play this week. Emmanuel Wilson was telling me he wants to play against the Jets. Like, he's ready to go now. The Packers are going to be a little more cautious than that. Cooler heads prevail because they don't need Emmanuel Wilson against the Jets. They do need him this fall. Like, he is I'll bring this back to the big picture view. Every Super Bowl contending team has headlining stars. Like, you've got to have those guys, but you also have to have real quality depth on your roster. Like, you've got to have a core of reserves that can come in off the sideline, spell those starters, and give you really high quality football. Emmanuel Wilson is one of those guys. And so it was significant that they dodged in Matt LaFleur's words, the big one. They dodged that one.
That is true. So at least by the end of this week, I will know how to say Israel Abanikanda. Am I saying? I'm not getting it right, am I? Did I butcher it?
No, I think you got that pretty close.
Abanikanda.
That's one of the guys I want to see in the preseason.
Yeah, dude.
He runs hard. At least in camp.
He's a 4.36 guy or 4.39 or something like that. He's really fast.
Yeah.
And he's built, like a brick house.
Yeah.
He's not had a ton of success. The 49ers got rid of him despite, they got some injury issues at running back. Mm-hmm. But, I was thinking to myself, let's see, especially against third stringers, this is a guy who could break off a 63-yard run, just like Emmanuel Wilson did when he was a rookie. He had some really nice long runs because he's so fast and athletic. This guy, keep an eye on.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that is the one thing. If there is one thing about preseason that's nice, you get the chance to see some different guys and see,
There's
looking at
always one guy who has just a great rushing preseason, and he doesn't make the team. Everybody thinks he's the next
Rajon Neal.
Yeah,
Rajon Neal.
Exactly. And the next thing you know, he's gone.
I'll never forget that. That was my first camp. I think I'm remembering. His last name was Neal. He's from Tennessee, Rajon Neal. And he comes in and he's got all these rushing yards in preseason. I'm like, oh man, he's ran too many yards to get cut. He's like, no, he was a camp body, right? Okay, if you get carries in the preseason, you're going to get yards. That's the way it is.
Pretty much.
But you have those preseason darlings, man.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's true. So, but at least in the running game, it'll be a healthy dose of him and Chris Brooks, and just see what they do. I mean, the coaches love Chris Brooks and how he can block and pass protection. So, there's a lot of different guys on this roster that I'm wanting to see and see how they perform, especially a lot of the newcomers. And starting Saturday in Lambeau Field with the New York Jets in town, you'll get a little glimpse of what some of these Packers players will perform under the lights. So. Get ready. It is about that time. Football is here. And are you excited?
No.
Thank you all.
I wouldn't say football is here. Football, this isn't football. This is preseason.
You know what I'm going to be excited
I don't watch preseason. I don't watch it.
You know what I'm going to be excited? I'm going to be excited after cutdown day when things get a little slower for the rest of that week. It's very different than it used to be. That Saturday cutdown day, boom, right into week one. Right now, you kind of got a little bit of a Labor Day weekend.
We won't have to be flying into Sao Paulo either. Yeah. 12-hour flight to Sao Paulo.
That'll be nice. Yeah, two home games to start the season is really going to throw off my equilibrium. That's
pretty nice.
It's wonderful.
Especially after camp. Yep.
Yeah.
I did feel bad for you guys off in Brazil, and I'm sitting in my recliner watching the thing with Pete while he's on his couch at home. I'm like,
it wasn't a bad experience, but the travel was just...
But didn't you
woe is us. We went to Brazil,
But wasn't it 3 hours from the hotel to the stadium?
It was.
Yeah, you see, I would have been done by then.
Insane.
It's going to be 10 minutes to kick off the Lambeau Field week one from my house.
That's right.
10 minutes for me.
I'm looking forward to that. Good deal. Thank you guys, as always, for your insights and all that you bring. And looking forward to what's to come this weekend. And obviously, we'll be back in next week for another podcast. We thank you all for checking out this week's edition of the Green 19 podcast. For Ryan Wood, Tom Silverstein, I'm Dominique Yates.